If you've ever stolen a patch from an Army guy, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, make sure that you hit that little bell icon so that you're notified when more knowledge bombs drop. As always, guys, comments help. Always like to hear what you guys want to see, so go ahead and comment. If you have nothing constructive to say, then that's fine, because that encompasses about a solid 70% of the community. Anyhow, every time I show any of my rifles, someone will say, hey, please show me how to paint the rifle. I've gotten the request like 1,000 times, and I've explained it about 1,000 times. So like anything else, I'm tired of explaining it, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I paint my rifles. So I just got a Mark 18 Mod 0 upper, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do my kind of rattle can snake texture thing going on that rifle. So what you're going to need paint, of course. So I use Rust-Oleum, the camo paint. I use, everyone asks me what the color is. I use khaki and brown. No big deal. You're going to need those. You're going to need some masking tape or some type of tape so you can tape up portions of your rifle that you don't want to have paint gotten onto. You're going to need some type of netting. So the netting I used was the netting that I got in basic training for those little mesh bags you use to hold your clothing in. I'm sure you can buy them everywhere, but I have like 1,000 of them from basic, and you know, ain't nobody ever going to use those things again. So I went ahead and cut those up so I can use those to do the mesh pattern. As well, I like to hang my rifles when I do my first base coat, so I go ahead and I recommend having some type of 550 cord or some type of rope or line so you can tie it up high. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tie my rifle up high. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tape off the portions that I don't want to get paint onto or in. So for example, my optic, I'm going to tape up the objective windows, that way I don't get paint getting into those. I'm going to tape up my muzzle device around the threads especially, that way if I ever need to change that muzzle device, then I'm not going to get paint in there. Now for some people it's not such a big deal, but since I'm shooting a lot of suppressed, so with a lot of suppressors, I don't want any paint getting in there, so I tape those up as well. Some people like to tape like the inside of the barrel around the handguard. I never find that that's a problem, so I don't mind. I don't go ahead and do that. I tape up around the charging handle, and then of course on the open area on the bottom of the upper receiver. If you have both rifles together, I usually tape on the bottom of the mag well, around the trigger, that type of stuff. So once you have everything taped up, I start with my base coat. So here's where it gets kind of into a pattern. So a lot of people do like tiny little, you know, they do like a really intricate like multicam around the whole thing. I'm not that big on doing like a really nice, like where it looks just like multicam or anything like that. I just kind of do something that's going to help it blend in. So I use a macro and a micro texture on this. So a macro texture is just simply going to be slashes going across the rifle that are broad, about a hand's width in size, going across the rifle in different alternating colors. So in this case, I'm doing khaki and brown. Now, if you live somewhere like, let's say the deep south or Florida or somewhere like that, then you might want to use more greens. But based on where I am in Eastern Washington, we don't have a whole lot of greens, so I'm going to go with brown. So as you can see here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my first coat. I'm doing the khaki, so I'm doing those nice slashes going across. Once I've done the khaki, I'm going to go ahead and take the brown, and on the areas that I didn't hit with khaki, I'm then going to do the brown. So once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let it dry. So now that it's dried, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it down, and I'm then going to apply my pattern. So I'm going to take my mesh bag, I'm going to overlay that onto the rifle. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to alternate the color that I'm shooting onto that through the mesh bag. So in this case, if I'm on an area that's all khaki, I'm then going to put the mesh bag on, and from about 12 inches away, I'm going to give it a light misting with the brown. So you don't need more than, you know, about a 3-4 second spray. Pull that off, you're going to have your nice mesh pattern. Then once I go over to my brown pattern, I'm going to alternate that. Place my mesh bag down, then hit it with khaki, and so forth, alternating all the way down. Once I pull that off and I've kind of taken a look at the rifle, seen kind of what I have, I might touch up different areas. So for example, towards the back of the receiver on the left side, I'm a huge autist, so I went ahead and I redid it a little bit more of a khaki color and re-hit it. But again, kind of judge it, see how it's looking, make sure it looks somewhat random. You don't want this thing to look too symmetrical. But what this is going to do is at distance, you have those alternating colors to help it kind of blend into the background, and a little bit more up close. It has more of a disruptive pattern to hopefully ensure that you're not seen by your mom when she needs to pick you up at the end of the airsoft game. So I hope that this was somewhat helpful to you guys. I know the next question is going to be how do I give it the battle-worn look? Just shoot it a bunch. For my airsoft guys, I guess use it in your matches or whatever. I know some guys have a whole thing, kind of like Hollywood, where they use like different scrubs and stuff to give it the battle-worn finish, but it's not such a big deal, guys. It's going to wear with time. Just let it wear naturally, and it's going to look good. So don't worry too much about that. As far as how long until you use it, the Krylon paint or the Rust-Oleum paint that I use dries in about, I don't know, a minute and a half. I'm sure it takes some more time to harden. You're going to have some kind of powder residue that's going to be coming off for a little while, but it should be all gone in about a week of use or somewhere around there. I think painting rifles is fun. I think it's cool. It makes the rifle look cool. And we know that nothing else matters if something looks cool. Again, it gives a little bit of character, which is always fun. So a lot of people are like, hey, why do you need to camouflage your rifle? Well, we live in America. We can do whatever the hell we want. So there's that. All right, guys, make sure your rifle looks cool when you paint it. If you have any more questions regarding painting, feel free to hit me up. Hope I answered your questions. Remember, guys, make sure it looks cool. Also, for the guy who wants to win something, if you tag me on Instagram, grand_thumb at grand_thumb. If you do your camo pattern in like shiny gold with like shiny blue, then this exact pattern, then I'll send you something cool. The coolest one will win. You guys have like a couple weeks to do that, but seriously, whoever does that is gonna win something. Make sure it looks cool, guys, and make sure you're leaving questions, and talk to you later.